Let's see how SSR and CSR works in Next.js. In the about component, let's declare a const a which will we give as math.random. This is to differentiate how a will be printed, right? So if you see, the a is not printed in the console of the client, right? I mean in the front end, but you can see it in the server. This is because this component is server rendered. This is very important to understand. So here this will be server rendered, okay, because we have not given explicitly to say that use client, but now we will say use client at the top, and then let's go back and refresh the page, and you will see the difference in value, because here the initial render is happening on the server, and when it comes to the client, again it will render. Therefore the math.random will generate a random value, right? So this is now client rendered because we have used use client at the top. Let's now see by printing a inside a div, and here you will get an error. This is a hydration error because the value of a is different on the server and the client. So to remove this error, we can do a couple of things. The first way is a simple suppress content editable warning in the div, and you can see that the error goes. But there's a much better way, because this does not always work in some cases. Let's declare const set client or is client, and set client to use state false. So the purpose of this is to render it only if it is a client, right? And in the use effect hook, let us set the value for is client. So use effect hook will mean that we are using it as a client, and on the initial load we are setting the value of is client to true. And let's see where we have printed a. Let's remove that. Okay, let's remove that as well. And here we'll say if is client is true and a. So this is rendered only on the client, and we can see that the error is gone and it is printed, right? It is not printed in the server, it is only printed in the client. So this is how we can suppress that warning. And another way is, let's make a file inside components called hydration test.jsx. You can call it anything you want, of course. And here we will say use client, and here let's go back, let's take this, let's delete this as well, and go back and paste this variable inside here, and let's print that variable. And let's delete all this, back to how the component was in the beginning. Now we have to import that component in a way using the dynamic hook of Next.js. I don't know if it's a hook, but I think so. I think I can use that term hook. So here let us import the component hydration. Why is it not coming? Hydration. Okay, hydration test. So you can see that this is imported from /component/hydration, but we want to import it dynamically. So we'll say const hydration test is equal to. So we have to use the dynamic import of Next.js, and we will write, just be careful about the syntax, and here we will do @ this thing, just copy and paste, and here we have to give the SSR false variable. Okay, we will explicitly say that do not SSR this. SSR is of course server-side rendering. And hydration test to SSR, let's just rename the component because it will give error if not else. Okay, Here I think we have to use the import statement as well. Okay, is there any error? I'm not able to see any error. Okay, I think this will do. You're importing component that needs use state. There is some error that is showing. Let's see what's the error. I think there is in the about page. Here there is no use state that we are using. Actually, if I declare the import and do not use it, it should not be a blocker, right? Let's go back to page.js and about, and let's just remove this. I think that's causing. Okay, compiled, and as you can see, the value is printed, as you can see, and no error. So we just said use SSR false, and we are rendering it. So this is rendered in the client side, right? So what we can now see is if we use a client side component and wrap a server side component inside it, should that component will be rendered in the client or the server, right? So to test that, let's create a file called clientprovider.jsx, and here we will say use client, and here it will take some children. So let's do children can be anything. Basically it will be components, and here we will use the children inside the div and save it. Go to layout.jsx, layout.js, and import the client provider and wrap the nav bar. So you might think, since this is a client side component, if you wrap it inside, that all the other components will, like the nav bar, will be server rendered, right? So to test that, let's go to about page itself. Let me declare const a is equal to math.random again, and console log a. Let's see, it is coming in the console but not in the browser. So that is all for today's video. We'll be seeing more of this in the next video. Take care. Goodbye.